We're in the middle of Holy Week, the week that Christians mark the last week of Jesus' earthly life. This week began with Palm Sunday, as it always does. In their book, The Last Week, John Dominic Crossan and Marcus Borg describe the entry into Jerusalem, and they say there were actually two processions entering Jerusalem that day. One, where Jesus was entering and coming in from the countryside on that side of Jerusalem. And on the other side was Pontius Pilate, who was the governor, the provincial governor over that territory. Now, it was common for Pilate, for the Roman governor, to enter into the city of Jerusalem during the festival time. You remember, this was leading up to Passover, one of the most significant festivals in the life of Jewish people. And the reason that there was a presence there wasn't because Pilate wanted to observe the Passover, but because he wanted to make sure that there was a show of force to keep the peace. So contrast that. On one side, we have Pilate's procession into Jerusalem. On the other side, we have Jesus entering Jerusalem. He would have ridden in very simple terms. We know that from the gospel writers that people laid their coats on the road before him and they waved palm branches. Now, we know that it's likely that both of those men entered the city around the same time. Were they simultaneous? Well, that's a little bit of an imaginative kind of derivation. But we have this sense that there were these two processions, and I think it's a point worth making. You know, Pilate would have come in with soldiers all around him, riding on big horses with banners and trumpets probably blasting to proclaim that he was coming. And here's Jesus on the other side of Jerusalem coming in, speaking gently, and the people shouting words of Hosanna, blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna means God save us. And they were proclaiming Jesus as king, which actually is seditious behavior. You've got people proclaiming Jesus as king, even as the Roman governor who represents the emperor, the only recognized king in the territory. And I think it's a point worth making for us because we live in a very violent world. We're surrounded by stories of violence. There's a war going on in Ukraine that is the act of aggression by a despot who is trying to rewrite history and rewrite the entire map of that region. We heard just on the news last night about another mass shooting and a violent act, and one of just a series of many of them. We know that violence is all around us. It's in our entertainment. It's in the ways that we interact with others. It's even in the language that we often use without thinking about it. I want to just invite us to spend some time this week as we're approaching these final days of Jesus' life, marking that time, to be mindful of the difference between these two processions. The King, Jesus, who comes in the name of peace to save God's people. The Pax Romana, which was a peace that was only derived through force and violent coercion. Where do we land on all of this? If we are followers of Jesus the Christ, we need to be people who can say no to the violent ways of the world, the peace that is only derived through force and violence and coercion. Friends, let's be people who follow Jesus not only by name, but also by our actions. I pray that as we mark this weekend together, that you will have a blessed Holy Week through Maundy Thursday, through Good Friday, through Holy Saturday, and that as we arrive at Resurrection Sunday this Easter, we will experience all the joy and the blessedness that comes from a God who longs to bring us peace and wholeness and joy. May God bless you this day and in the days to come.